On this episode of the Big Success Show, the biggest lie we tell graduates.
Big Success with the professor and Mary-Lynn.
Mary-Lynn, I'm a sucker for graduation ceremonies, and I guess I especially love...
Wait, the professor loves graduation?
Yes, because they're getting rid of me. At least for the summer, huh? Yeah, I love Pomp and Circumstance, the song that always gets played going and coming. I love that song. Now, the thing is, every graduation ceremony, there's this moment in time that's almost magical.
Yeah.
The graduates march down the aisle. They stroll across the stage.
Yeah, got to get that certificate.
That's right. Caps fly into the air.
Mm.
Families cheer. Cameras flash. And people hug through tears, exhaustion, and relief.
And for a brief moment, it feels like anything is possible. And honestly, it is. But almost immediately after the celebration ends, something else starts to creep in.
It's pressure. Pressure to know exactly what comes next. Pressure to make the right decision. Pressure to choose a career path, a purpose, a future, and somehow through it all, to map out an entire life at 22 years old.
Yeah, that's all.
Don't worry, no pressure here.
Yeah. And underneath all of it sits one massive cultural lie that you should have it all figured out by now. It's one of the most damaging messages that we give graduates, and not just college graduates.
Yeah, we tell it to people leaving high school, changing careers, rebuilding after a divorce, stepping into entrepreneurship, entering retirement, and even starting over after setbacks.
Yeah, any transition stage can feel like graduation, a moment where you have uncertainty, but the world suddenly expects certainty. Well, the problem is life doesn't actually work that way. Welcome to the Big Success Show, where we help you create the life you want. Hi, I'm Mary-Lynn.
And I'm George, the professor.
In this episode, we're going to explore the lie that keeps people stuck, how to put direction over perfection, the direction over decision framework, how to stop treating every decision like it's permanent, and what every graduate actually needs. So, what's the lie that keeps people stuck? Well, many big goal getters, and that's big with 2 G's, believe that they need a perfect plan, all worked out before they can move forward.
So they wait. They overthink. They research endlessly. They second-guess every option, compare themselves to everyone else online.
Meanwhile, the people who make progress are rarely the ones who had everything figured out from the start. They're usually the ones willing to move forward before they felt ready.
That's one of the biggest mindset shifts a graduate can make, or any adult for that matter. Contrary to what we've learned from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you don't just think your way into knowing the right path, you have to move your way into it. We've talked before about OODA loops. It's a military concept designed for an uncertain, even chaotic environment, kind of like the conditions we live in our daily lives today.
Yeah, and OODA, O-O-D-A, is an acronym for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act.
Forward motion is the key here. As you work your way through the OODA loops, you learn. You put that knowledge to work. You keep learning more, faster. That's how you gain an advantage over an opposing force.
Psychologist Barry Schwartz, author of The Paradox of Choice, explains that too many choices often increase anxiety instead of freedom, and today's graduates face endless options. Consider your employment just for one. Where will you work? Will you work for an employer or work for yourself, or both? If so, will you work full-time for your employer and part-time for yourself, or vice versa? And we could go on and on.
So is it any wonder that so many people feel overwhelmed? Every decision starts to feel permanent. But most decisions are not permanent. They're directional. And that's a very important distinction.
So here's the big, and that's big with 2 G's, the big reframe. Putting direction over perfection. Hey, most people ask the wrong question after graduation. What they ask is, what should I do for the rest of my life? Well, that's a pretty big question.
Yeah.
And it creates enormous pressure, like you were saying earlier. The better question is, what direction am I willing to explore next?
Because that's a much healthier way to approach growth. Big goals, that's big with 2 G's, they're rarely achieved through one perfect decision. They're reached through experimenting, learning, adjusting, and growing intentionally over time. At Big Success, we often talk about personal entrepreneurship. You are the entrepreneur in charge of your life, personal and professional.
It's your personal enterprise, and you're building a life with intention. That's exactly why intentional tools like our life map matter so much. When life feels uncertain, structure matters.
It's a roadmap that helps reconnect the pieces that matter most, your values, strengths, goals, and purpose, among others. Because without intention, life has a way of steering us off course.
Now, to get unstuck, don't make decisions, pick a direction. Next time you feel stuck, use the direction over decision framework. It gives you a different approach. It shifts your focus from making the right decision to choosing a direction and taking a step. Here's how to use it. First, choose a direction.
Now, we're not talking a forever decision here. Make a note of that. This is not a forever decision. This is a direction. A direction. Maybe you want to explore a career in marketing, test entrepreneurship, work in healthcare, move to a new city, or build creative skills. You are allowed to explore and evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. That's how you grow.
Second, take a meaningful step. This is where clarity begins. Apply for the internship, launch the side project, talk to a mentor, take the course, start the business idea, volunteer somewhere interesting.
Action brings information. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, teaches that our identities are shaped through repeated actions. The path becomes clear when you start moving.
And third, evaluate and adjust. You're not just trapped by your first decision or direction.
Life is not a straight line. Careers, people, and dreams all evolve. The goal is not perfection, it's alignment which develops gradually over time.
One of the biggest emotional mistakes that graduates make is treating every choice like a permanent identity. It's why people freeze because, well, what if I choose wrong? So how do we stop treating every decision like it's forever?
Just remember, some, Mary-Lynn, I might even say most, of the most successful people started with uncertainty.
That's true.
Yeah, Steve Jobs, in a commencement speech to Stanford, one of the more famous commencement speeches I think ever, he once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You only can connect them looking backward." And that's why waiting until you can see the entire road ahead just doesn't work. Most of us only see the next turn, but that's okay. You don't need the whole route. You need just enough direction to take the next step.
And here's what every graduate needs. First, graduates do not need more pressure. What they do need is perspective, emotional resilience, self-awareness, practical structure, and permission to grow gradually.
They need to know uncertainty is normal. Clarity takes time, and meaningful success is built step by step. Most importantly, they need to stop believing that they're behind simply because they're still figuring things out. You are not behind. You're creating the life you want, one choice, one decision at a time.
And that brings us to this episode's big assignment from the professor.
Take 15 minutes this week and create a simple 90-day direction plan. Ask yourself, what direction feels meaningful enough for me to explore right now? What small but meaningful step could I take this week? What skill do I want to build over the next 90 days? And where am I waiting for certainty instead of taking action? And then choose one action.
It could be anything like applying for the job or opportunity, starting the project, scheduling the conversation, or testing your idea.
Remember, you do not need to solve your entire life today. You just need to take one small step with purpose.
And here's this episode's big takeaway.
The biggest lie we tell graduates is that they should already have everything figured out. But you know what? Real success just doesn't work that way.
Meaningful lives are built through movement, adjustment, experimentation, and intentional growth over time.
You do not need a perfect plan before you begin.
You need the courage to take the next meaningful step, because clarity rarely arrives all at once.
It's built one intentional decision at a time, and that's how you reach big success.
If you're looking for clearer direction and more intentional progress, we'd love to stay in touch. Join our newsletter at biggsuccess.com/join.
Let's get connected on social media. We're at Big Success on all social media channels. Don't forget the second G.
And next time, do you ever worry that you're missing out if you say no? We'll reveal why the opportunities you ignore may matter more than the ones you pursue. Don't miss it. Subscribe to the BIGG Success Show in your favorite podcast app.
And we thank you so much for listening today. Until next time, here's to your big success.
Find Big Success at BIGGSuccess.com.